perception of it is, that's kind of neat. And now that they've gotten used to it, it is normal now.
It's normal. It's
It
a
is normal. So
Yep.
I think it helps them now that there's 4 of them. You know, now they're almost, not a majority, but there's a substantial portion of that class.
yeah,
So,
And it's a small school system versus a school of 600 or 800
Right.
students.
Right.
You'd be amazed how many.
It's a very
benefit from
it's a
this.
very nurturing environment.
Absolutely.
A very welcoming and nurturing environment for learning.
yeah.
For learning.
and the sad thing is that I saw with some of those kids, they would rather fail and not read at all
Right.
and be like the other kids.
Right.
You know, and that is scary.
And that's scary because, as you said, they're so young.
Yeah.
You know, they're
Yeah,
so
the confidence
young.
is the main thing, you gotta keep going. Build confidence, then it
Right.
gives them the courage to do it.
Right,
Right.
right.
And not be afraid to make a mistake because
Right.
they're confident.
We have an 18-year-old that has been graduating every year from Kinley High School. And I know his problem is the reading.
Yeah.
And I had every meetings we go to his 504 meetings when I used to go. Well, it's nothing wrong with him. I think he's just don't want to do his job. And I knew there's something wrong, and I tried to drag him to the school, but now he's 18, and it's kind of like, you've got to
Right.
arrest him and bring him here.
So it should have started at a
They should
younger
have started
age.
early at IC's age, so he started younger, so he could have more confidence. He's going to be 19 in July, and he still has another year and a half to graduate. It's just very sad. Doesn't get in trouble.
But he's persevering, and he's
Yes.
still there.
I
And
keep him
he's
home.
going, and he's going for, well,
But he's
you're,
not-
yeah,
He's not ready.
he's not ready.
He's not ready. When he graduates, it's Child No Left Behind is really, he's really
Being
dropping
left
the ball
behind.
big time.
He's
Yeah.
being left
He's
behind.
not going to be ready.
And part of that is because they want all the children to fit into the same mold.
Right.
You know, the No Child Left Behind wanted everyone to fit into the same mold,
Yeah.
and we're all unique individuals that have to be respected.
Sure.
So now, Jacob's parents, Mary and Jim, share your story.
Jacob really started struggling when he hit first grade, which was kind of a blindside to us. Jacob was always the kid that, when he was younger, he had an amazing vocabulary. He used to come up to me as a 5-year-old and ask me, "Mommy, do you need hydration? Do you want me to go get some water for you? Do you need hydration?" And he understood what the words meant. But we got to first grade and reading, and he just collapsed. He completely collapsed, and we couldn't understand what was happening, and went through a lot of different doctors and a lot of different things. We were going through the public school system, and now he's a 4th grader, and he was still 2 years behind in reading and struggling at those 2 years behind reading. Just, we were having lots of discussions with the school of, what do we do and how do we move him along, and never really any good resolution, no plan. It was just, well, all we can do is read and read and read. Well, he doesn't like to read, and it's hard for him. And easy words like will and the were just, they were struggling for him. He started to really, he started saying when he was by the end of the first grade, he used to cry every morning before going to school and tell us how stupid he was. And that's hard to watch him do that every day. And even through 2nd and 3rd grade, he still hated going to school. He used to bite his fingers until he would draw blood because he struggled so hard at it, and writing was so tedious for him that it was painful to actually watch him try and do it, because you knew how much he struggled, and he would come up with this great sentence. He would tell you, this great sentence, and then to get it down on paper, he would get the first word down on paper and then completely forget the rest of the sentence because he worked so hard to get the word "the" written on the paper. And by 3rd grade, his school had, without even really discussing with us or anything, Jacob just came home, and I was asking him, where's your spelling words? Where are your spelling words? I don't have to take spelling anymore. They just stopped giving him spelling tests because they couldn't grade him. They couldn't grade his writing anymore. They wouldn't let him do it orally, so they just stopped doing it. And how does a kid get any farther if he stopped doing the foundational pieces, So he transitioned to 4th grade. He'd already stayed back once in 1st grade. So we've already repeated a grade and still getting nowhere very quickly. Made zero progress in third grade. Didn't graduate a reading level, nothing in third grade. So we got to fourth grade and we transitioned to the middle school instead of the elementary school, and we're still really struggling. And we thought the team that we had was really going to pull it together, and that team fell apart really quickly. The teaching team in the school side quickly fell apart. It was back to the same thing, you know, and they were not telling him he was lazy, but they were really treating him like he was lazy, you know?
So,
And his confidence level.
He had no confidence. He had
Right.
zero
That's the
confidence.
main thing. You gotta keep that
He
confidence
gets so
up.
frustrated. I mean,
Right.
you go to pick him up at daycare, and where is he? He's
Yeah,
by himself in the corner.
because he feels
Because he
inadequate.
feels like he doesn't
Right.
belong with anybody.
Right.
it's kind of like the same story that we had with Angel, because we
Yes.
kept him up, we kept him behind. I think he didn't pass fourth grade, but he was not ready for intermediate school.
Right.
Mm.
But we kept him passing,
But they don't
but
really-
his reading and language and arts, we kept on failing those classes.
Yes,
And now I sit down and she's 18, I said, oh, what am I gonna do with him now?
right.
He's not really ready at all.
Yeah. And we really feel moving Jacob from third to fourth grade, you know, I was very hesitant
Yeah.
to try and get him into fourth grade because, I mean, I was highly anxious over it, and, you know, I kept telling the school we need to have meetings, and we need to have meetings, and we need to get this down, and we need to understand what everybody's supposed to be doing, because he's not gonna get it. We cannot keep steamrolling this kid through class after class when he, you know, he kept telling me that his his second grade special education teacher taught him his alphabet. That's what he learned in second grade. He learned his letters.
So now, was he in a special ed classroom,
was.
or was he being
No.
pulled up for
He
resources?
was in a co-taught special education classroom.
And then he-
When we were down in Memphis, when we first started this journey through special education, he was pulled out for services, which for him was very difficult. He would feel rushed and behind. He actually started stashing papers all over the room. Like, the teacher would start cleaning out bookcases, and all of a sudden, there's Jacob's work that he didn't complete, because he had no ability to complete it. And he knew that if he got rid of it, it was like, if I get rid of it, then I'm done with it. It doesn't matter anymore. So he would hide papers all over the place, and in the most random, underneath bookshelves, and, you know, in the back of closets, and stuffed behind things. I think sometimes he probably put it in other kids' backpacks just to get rid of it. And then we went to Connecticut, and it was a co-taught, which for him was easier because he kind of stayed in that classroom, but yet he was with other children that didn't understand that he learned differently. And so he started getting bullied.
We had voiced that before we even started that year. You know, because that was my big thing, is I don't want my son bullied, plain and simple.
Yeah.
It's not called for him.
No.
His confidence
His
level
grade.
was low to begin with.
Right.
He had poor self-confidence to begin with, and to have another child intimidating him. He
Yeah.
got to the point where on the school grounds, when they went out to recess, he learned that he couldn't go very far from the teachers, because if he did, they would trap him.
Yeah.
And so, you know, all these different things, he just was struggling a lot. So probably the best thing that ever happened was that his special education teacher changed for the third time in public schools, and it was not a change that we were satisfied with. So we pulled him out, and we brought him here, and they immediately said, well, you know, I have the Jacob Binder. The Jacob Binder.
That's all of his special ed
This is all of his evaluations.
evaluations.
These are all of his evaluations, all the minutes of the school, you know, some of his writing samples, and this was my armor when we went to the special education meetings. This is what I brought out every time.
So now when you brought it here,
I brought it here and I said, okay, this is Jacob, you know? Can you really take him? Because, you know, you're concerned coming to a small school
Right.
with a child who's struggled and has continued to struggle for so long. Are you going to be able to meet what we think are his needs? And she said, well, you know, we have this teacher that comes in 3 times a week that we'd like to have Jacob, you know, just evaluated by him. Are you okay with that? That's fine. Give me the paper. I'll sign on the dotted line. That's fine. And that was he came on a Monday.